Good morning, everybody. Wow. I'm so excited to be here. I graduated from my PhD in the mid-90s, and I went to work in the US for a few years before I got the job at McGill in 2000. And I remember in the early 2000s talking to a lot of researchers in my country sort of saying, where's all the sport research? We seem to be disappearing for some reason. And then SCRI was initiated, and there was a lot of us cheering. And I think the impact and the effects that we're seeing of this organization and this initiative through SCRI really is making a difference, because I see so much more sport research going on. So kudos to SCRI and for everybody who's supporting this initiative. I'm a coaching science researcher. And I'm going to talk to you today about some of the work that we've done in parasport coaching. I do research in able-bodied sport coaching and parasport coaching. We'll talk about the parasport study that was funded by this initiative. And before I get going, I want to just acknowledge some of my partners, people who've played an influential role in my line of research. First off, is there's a QR code in the top right-hand corner. So our publication from this research is open access, as is an initiative from SCRI. So if you take a picture of that QR code, you can get access to our publication. I want to give a shout out to some of the people that played a big role in this study. One is Dr. Danielle Alexander, who's a postdoctoral fellow now at the University of Ottawa. I think she'll be here through the conference. She did her PhD work at McGill under my supervision, and she really drove the ship and did all of the major work in this line of research. So thanks, DA. Also to my colleagues, Dr. Billy Harvey from McGill, who's an adapted physical activity specialist, and Todd Lougheed from the University of Windsor, who works in coach and athlete leadership. They've been a big part of this program of research. And a shout out, it was talked about partnerships in the introduction, and we partnered with the Coaches Association of Ontario for this project. And I can't say enough what a great job Mercedes Watson and her team did helping us with this program. So let's get going. Parasport coaching research. There's not a lot that's been done. In 1998, two researchers actually from McGill University who were doing this before I got there, Greg Reed and Andrea Prupis, reviewed and analyzed 204 disability sport articles from 1986 to 1996. Only 5 related to coaching. Shortly after them, 2 more researchers, Lee and Peretta, did an analysis from 2001 to 2011. Found that most of the studies were physiological and biomechanical, not a lot in coaching, and there was certainly no increase in coaching science. So that's alarming for those of us doing some research. Is like, where is the research in parasport coaching? One more study that I'll share is that Danielle and I partnered with 2 of our colleagues from Scandinavia to do a more broader scoping review on parasport coaching, and we reviewed the research from 1991 to 2018. And I guess it's a positive that we found 44 peer-reviewed articles, 5 were review papers. So the needle is starting to move in the right direction. But what I think is really positive is 70% of the articles were published from 2014 onwards. And certainly when we stopped our analysis in the last 3 or 4 years, I think the research has been increasing. I'm seeing more parasport coaching research. When I published my first paper in 2007, there were a handful of us doing research, and there's more people now. 3 of the most common topics: being a parasport coach, general coaching knowledge, and becoming a parasport coach. And you would think maybe becoming a parasport coach there'd been some research done in mentoring, but very little. And with parasport and other marginalized populations being a unique context, you do need research in that area. So this kind of inspired some of the work that we're doing. So let me get to that right now. So in 2019, the Coaches Association of Ontario created their Coach-to-Coach Parasport Mentorship Program. I'd done some talks for them previously, and they knew that I had done some research in mentoring. And they're like, we've got this program created. Would you like to gather some data, some evidence-based data? Because we want to know if it works. And we formed a partnership. So they created the program, disseminated, recruited the participants, and we analyzed it. So we had inexperienced coaches who are interested in starting to coach in parasport, getting paired up with experienced mentor coaches. It was really great that the Coaches Association of Ontario created a program that had structured learning opportunities such as seminars, workshops, and networking events. So it was over the entire year, the mentees were getting exposure to different types of knowledge. We were originally going to do this in person, and then the pandemic hit, and they talked to us and said, "Do you think we could do this virtually?" And I said, "Yes." By all means, I had just finished doing a study with U.S. lacrosse that was virtual, and I had done a formal parasport mentorship program in Singapore that was done in person. And I said, based on what I know from doing formal programs, you could do it virtually, so away we went. So the purpose of our study was to explore the perceptions and experiences of both the mentor and the mentee coaches following a 10-month, what we'll call a pilot parasport formal coach mentorship program. So who participated? 29 mentees, 15 mentor coaches from a variety of parasports and competitive levels, and people were not paired up with coaches in the same sport. We didn't have that luxury. To collect our data, because I do want to give you some info, we had 2 focus groups, one for the mentors and one for the mentees at the halfway point. And then we did individual interviews with mentors and mentees to see what their perceptions are of this program, how it could be better, what they learned, what they liked, what they disliked. We did a reflective thematic analysis to analyze the data. So probably what you're waiting to hear, what were some of the results? Again, I'm limited in the time that I can speak, so I'm going to talk about 3 areas, but if you want to get more depth, and you can certainly access our article, because like I said, it's open access. So I'm going to talk about the outcomes of effective mentoring. I'm going to talk about the disability-specific coaching knowledge that the mentees acquired, or that they wanted to acquire, or they still wanted. And we're going to talk about the virtual learning component and what we learned from it. So the outcomes of effective mentoring. So we got separate data from the mentees and the mentors. So let me try and share each of it with you, starting with the mentees. The mentees described learning opportunities they derived, including enhanced sport, support, and learning. And support was a big one. The knowledge was important, but also the support of having a mentor who they could talk to and learn from was key to them. I think I would have had a lot of problems if I wanted to start a parasport program prior to this mentorship program. I wouldn't have known where to start, but going through this whole program, it's really helped me understand this is what I need to do and get the resources needed. I've learned a lot. It's been so good. The mentors also had very positive experiences, including connecting with other mentors, learning in some of their combined sessions what people were doing and how they were doing it. I know this gathering is beneficial to me, hearing about what other coaches are doing. It validates some of the things I think I'm doing right. At least there's that gauge to say, oh, okay, I think I'm on the right track. So we had positive outcomes from both. The mentees really talked about the disability-specific coaching knowledge that they acquired, including classification, inclusive language, functional ability. This was really wide-ranging. They were like sponges. Most of them had not taken a coach education class. In some of the sports in Canada, as many of you know, we don't have coach education. We have 4 sports, disability sports, but there's, I think, about 28 that are in the Olympics. So we need more coach education. So the opportunity for these coaches to be sitting with experts in their area was really beneficial. I learned more about classifications of athletes, said one mentee. I figured if you broke your neck at the shoulder blades, from there downward, you will be paralyzed. But that's not true. You could be paralyzed, but still have function down your arm. So it was a learning curve for me because my mentor jumps up and down on his chair like there's no problem. Virtual learning considerations. So this was during the pandemic, so you understand that the people also said, like, we would have loved to have had in person. And we would like to be able to take the knowledge we're learning and go in and apply it, but they weren't able to at this point. But there were a lot of positives of the virtual learning that came out of it. One person said, I don't think the mentorship would have been possible without it. I'm from a small community and I don't drive. I have, insert disability, so my only transportation would have been on the train. Had it not been for the pandemic, I probably wouldn't have been included. Eric said, I actually think the online piece is invaluable because it greatly opens up your capacity to meet with people who aren't geographically able to work with you. So we found that the mentorship, the virtual program, actually tended to be more inclusive. So wrapping this up, what did we learn from this? Well, first thing is that both the mentor and the mentee coaches felt they gained a lot from this program, which is similar to the other two studies that I participated in that I spoke about earlier. So no different from the able-bodied sport context in that respect. Mentorship led to increased confidence, yet the mentees still desired more contextualized, specific coaching knowledge. So if there's anybody out here that is involved in coach education and disability sport, the mentorship program works. It's valuable. They want more of it. And I think we need more of it. And we need more opportunities and coach education opportunities specific to this context. In conjunction with in-person opportunities, virtual mentorship is a promising avenue for inclusive coach learning and development. We really didn't know what to expect for people because the pandemic was a time that was causing a lot of distress, but overall our participants did value and appreciate the virtual component. So my final takeaway points here. I think our research signifies a promising future for mentorship opportunities in parasport coaching and parasport as a whole. We need for researchers and community partners to continue working together. And that was just mentioned in the opening talks, and it certainly came through in our work with the Coaches Association of Ontario. I think we had a great partnership, and I would encourage people to do more research of this type. The program also fostered connections between coaches in various sports, which has the potential to grow the Canadian parasport landscape. I think in a lot of other sports, people are matched up with people in the same sport. Here, that didn't happen, and it didn't seem to be an impediment, according to our people. In fact, it was widening the network of people, and that seemed to be something that was appreciated by our participants. Thank you very much.
We're ready for the Q&A period here with Gordon. For those of you who don't know me, by the way, I'm Veronica Allen, and I'm the Research and Innovation Lead at SCRI. So any questions for Dr. Bloom?
Hello, thank you very much. My name is Marijke Tax. I'm from the University of Ottawa. I'm curious to know whether your mentees and mentors were people with disabilities or whether there were also people without disabilities, and whether that does make a difference in the program.
It was a mix of both. It didn't come out in our results that was a major factor. It was something we considered, do we take that into account? But again, we didn't recruit the participants. They were recruited for us, and we did have a mix of both. I think it was probably important for the mentors in particular that there was a mix. So if there were questions when we were together, they were able to steer that ship a little bit more.
I do have a quick question actually for you, because I know you've been doing a lot of coaching research and mentorship research more generally. So would you say, based on your experience studying mentorship in parasport, that looks different than it might in an able-bodied coaching context? Or is there any particular similarities or differences that sport organizations might need to consider if they're implementing these programs?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think one of the differences is that the parasport coaches don't have as much access to resources as they do in able-bodied sport. And that came through, in our data that this is just a wonderful, they were sponges. They were just so excited to be there. People were, when we had the seminars, the workshops, nobody was missing them. Nobody was late. They had some assignments that they were asked to do. Nobody didn't do it. I think just getting recognized that this is value and this is merit, and we have people that are willing, the mentors, to share their knowledge for free, was something that really just came through, their deep, deep appreciation for it. I'm not saying it wouldn't be in able-bodied sport, but I think in marginalized populations, they really appreciate and gravitate towards these opportunities and these opportunities. So we need more coach education, but if we can't have that, more coach mentorship in parasport, I think would be great.
All right. So someone from the Zoom room would like to know, how do you think it would have been different if you could have assigned mentees with mentors from the same sport?
Based on our data, I don't think it would have been any different, because the type of knowledge they were asking was not technical or tactical primarily in their sport. It was more about how to coach in disability and classifications, types of disabilities that really runs across sports. So the information they were seeking from our study wasn't really technical tactical. So not a big difference in this case.
Great. We're actually going to have to wrap it up there and move on to our next presentation. I'm sure if you have more questions, you can find Dr. Bloom during the break.
Over here. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.